everyone, this is Sherry. Today I'm going to talk to you about the golden rules of optimizing the space in your city. This discussion is adapted from the note that you will find of the same title on the Elvenar Platinum Leaf group page on Facebook. I'm going to start this discussion by basically identifying some directions here just to facilitate the discussion. I'm going to designate this lip of the plateau, this edge of the plateau looking down into the valley. This is north. The opposing edge of the plateau looking down into the Rocky Canyon for the purposes of this discussion is going to be south, with east and west corresponding accordingly, with east being the cliff wall and west being the forest edge. When you start the game of Elvenar, you're given a very small space, grid space. As you progress through the game, you're going to get grid expansions. You're going to want to place those grid expansions, if you're in an elven city, along the east-west axis. If you're in a human city, you're going to want to do the opposite. The reason for that is the buildings that you have the majority of in your city, your residences and your workshops, in those various cities will grow in those orientations. Right now we're looking at the residences and the workshops and the barracks in my elven city on Arendelle. And you can see that they've grown to a 2x4, the residences have grown to a 2x4 dimensions on that east-west axis or orientation. In a human city, they grow to similar size, but in the opposite direction. So as you get your grid expansions, consider what type of city you're in, whether it's human or elven, and plan ahead as much as you're able to accommodate the growth of the buildings. And for humans, you're going to want to place those grid expansions in a north-south trajectory. In elven cities, you're going to want to place those grid expansions in an east-west trajectory. The other thing that you're going to want to do as you place those grid expansions is you're going to want to place them in a square or a rectangle pattern. As much as you're able, and you should be perfectly able, to avoid wings or T's or L's or odd geometric shapes. Those T's and L's make it difficult to accommodate the growth of your buildings or the placement of larger buildings. And I can demonstrate that for you over here with this Mountain Hall's Ancient Wonder. I'm going to pull it out so you, well, ended up grabbing the Endless Excavation, but that's not what I was going for. Okay, Mountain Halls, pulling him out, and you can see how big he is. This building takes up more than one grid square in the game. So if I were to have some odd geometric shape or a T or an L, in all likelihood I would not be able to accommodate that building or the Dwarven Bulwark, which is another larger than one grid square, or larger than one city expansion. So there's that. The next thing to consider when you're optimizing the space in your city, and this is probably one of the most important, it's basic, but it's very important, is the placement of your roads. You want to limit the number of roads you need in your city. To that end, you want to place your roads so that you can put buildings on either side of them. You're going to want to place your buildings, you're going to want to stack them so that you can have a road running on opposite sides of two buildings rather than one road running on either side of a single building. As quickly as you're able, you're going to want to upgrade those roads so that you can also get a culture bonus for them. You start out in the game with a simple trail. It's a 1x1 grid square that connects all of your buildings to your main hall. It gives you no culture bonus. As you progress in the chapters of the game, you'll be able to construct Blossom Streets, which takes you from 0 culture bonus to 63 culture bonus. The better your culture bonus, the more coins your residences produce, and it makes sense. Get more bang for your buck. Upgrade your roads. You're going to want to arrange your buildings so that the narrowest edge of the buildings are touching the roads. Here you can see my residence is a 2x4. It takes up 2 grids or 2 squares of road space, whereas if I were to place it this way, it takes up 4 grids of road space. It's just not an economical prospect. So narrowest edge of your buildings touching your roads. This is bothering me, so I'm just going to sell this. You can cut this out, Jack. I did that earlier as a practical demonstration, and it didn't work very well. Okay. And we're back. The other thing concerning roads is your buildings only need to be connected by 1 grid square. So you can see this here in my planks factory here. I have 1 grid square offering connectivity, and I've used that last grid square to construct a classy lantern, which gives me an additional 101 points of culture bonus. Another thing to consider when placing your buildings is that your builder's hut and your culture buildings do not need road connections. So don't waste road space on those culture buildings. Right now my builder's hut is luxuriating in this massive space that I have because I'm not yet able to construct the buildings I need for the orcs and goblins. I just sold all of the fairy buildings and it gave me this wonderful space, so I'm just kind of luxuriating in that at the moment. But don't economize your road space is the basic gist of that. Just limit the number of road squares or squares on your grid that you have dedicated to road. As much as you're able, get the best bang for your buck for those road squares. So upgrade your road squares to get the culture bonus. Don't waste road connectivity on culture buildings. Place the narrowest edge of your buildings against the road. As quickly as you're able, upgrade your culture buildings. I'm going to show you that right now. I can show you, let's see, if I go to culture buildings and I'm going to click over until I see the Garden of Harmony, which is here. That Garden of Harmony is a 5x6 building. It gives me 2,100 culture bonus points. That's basically 70 culture bonus points per grid space that it occupies. If I go over to the Pond of Recreation, went too far. Here's the Pond of Recreation. It's a 5x6 building, but it gives me 3,700 culture bonus points. I don't want to do that. So that Pond of Recreation gives me 123 culture bonus points per grid square versus the 70 culture bonus points that I get per grid square with the Garden of Harmony. You can also see that in your single spaced buildings. If I go to culture, you start out with the luminous luminous signpost. That's the first culture building you're able to construct. It gives you 21 culture bonus points. I am now at the end of the fairy chapter able to construct the classy lantern. For that same single space, I get 101 culture bonus points. So, and it's true even of the buildings that aren't the same size. As much as you're able, sell your obsolete culture buildings and build the culture buildings from the later chapters. Most of the culture buildings that I have in my city right now are from the special events. When you can compete and get those special event buildings, do so. It is they give you a better culture bonus than the buildings that you're able to construct. I can't think of anything else that goes on this, or that I can tack on to this, except that if you want more tips on how to arrange your city or how to maximize the benefit that you get from the buildings in your city, join us on the Elvenar Platinum Leaf public group page on Facebook. You can also find more helpful and instructive videos on the Elvenar Platinum Leaf YouTube channel. If you found this video helpful and instructive, give it a like. If you want more videos of this type, subscribe to the Elvenar Platinum Leaf Group YouTube channel. Thank you for spending some time with me, and happy gaming, everyone.